Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us at From the Heart. Today's program is very special to me. A short time ago, I was introduced to Linda Walborough, who's one of our guests today, and she's actively involved with the American Heart Association here in New Jersey. And I learned that she is leading an initiative to get CPR and AED kits into schools and communities where they need this. And I knew it was something to support as part of my Woman of Impact campaign this year and generate some more of this. Well, shortly after that conversation, I remembered about one of my sorority sisters in Dallas, Texas, Julie Kuhn. And she is our age. She had cardiac arrest in the parking lot at school. And it was CPR and the AED that saved her life. And we'll hear that story in just a little bit. But I put these two ladies together because I felt like they really complemented one another. And this is what our program is going to be about, is these CPR and AED save lives. And we've got to help Linda raise money. And we need to help these schools. We need to make sure every school out there has these. And I think they're kind of expensive. Linda will tell us later. So it made sense to put them together so we get the full story about how it all works. So Linda and Julie, welcome. Thank you for being here. And my first question is for you, Julie. Your story about this cardiac arrest in the parking lot at school, and how your life was saved at warp speed by a coach. I'm going to actually let you tell the story. But you captured the heart of the community, and the media was responsive to you. And they still are. You're still sought after, so I'm really honored with this. Will you tell us the story? What happened to you?
Certainly. Thanks, Patty. Yes, it's not really a story that I thought I'd be telling in my life, but it is what it is, and I'm honestly happy to be here. So I was with a friend of mine. We were volunteering at Plano Senior High School in Plano, Texas, where we live, and we were out in the parking lot just chatting after we were about ready to go home, and suddenly I felt faint, just a moment of feeling faint, and I reached my hand out to grab Diane's shoulder, and that's the last thing I remember. My hand never even touched her shoulder until I collapsed to the ground. This I all found out later. So I collapsed to the ground, and Diane called 911 instantly, and there were two high school girls, twins, who had just finished volleyball practice on campus, and they noticed that I had fallen to the ground. They alerted their coach, who was the bus driver. They were about to leave campus, and he immediately ran to my aid. So within 45 seconds, I was getting CPR, and he sent the high school girls to get the athletic trainer from the school, and she helped with CPR as well. And they tag teamed, and then within 2 minutes, I was receiving the first of two shocks from an AED. The girls had gone to get the AED. They knew where it was. It was in next to the gym. So I got the first of two shocks, and there was a second shock that reestablished my heartbeat. Within 3 minutes, the ambulance arrived, and I was whisked to the hospital. Yeah. And from there, my first memory is just waking up in the hospital room and being told I was a very, very lucky woman.
You are a lucky woman. I do want to ask you a question. We take it for granted. Will you tell everyone what does AED stand for? And in that shot, just talk a little more about that shot that was given to you.
Okay, so an AED is an automated external defibrillator. Okay. And it is used only to restart the heart rhythm when it is out of whack, out of rhythm. And sometimes you have a shockable rhythm, sometimes you don't, depending on the rhythm that your heart's in. And luckily, the second shock was able to shock me back. It comes in a case. It can be on a wall. It can be a travel unit, and it has pads that you put across your heart, and it shows you exactly how to use it. It's simple to use. So you open it up, and some of them walk you through it audibly. Others have directions, but it is easy to use. You put the pads on, you turn the machine on, and it will either tell you or directions, but it will only shock the patient if they need it. So it analyzed my rhythm and shocked me, and evidently the first one didn't make it happen, and so it analyzed again and shocked again, and that's when that worked.
All right, so you're whisked away to the hospital, and what happened next? What kind of what kind of a surgery was done, and what was wrong?
Well, I was in the hospital for about a week. They're doing all kinds of tests. So I believe they figured out that I was low in potassium and I had a enlarged heart. They could only guess from a virus or something. I was already seeing a cardiologist, so I had just something benign called PVC, premature ventricular circulation, which people live with all the time. I'd had it for years. But this is just something that you can't predict a cardiac arrest. They kind of happen out of the blue.
Yeah.
So I was there for a week after they figured that out, and they were not going to release me until I had an internal defibrillator added. So I have an ICD, an internal cardiac defibrillator, implanted in my chest. It's a pacemaker defibrillator. Yes.
You're
so it's kind of my onboard angel. Yeah. Yes, I am.
So you made a comment just a second ago, and you said you had already seen your cardiologist. So and cardiac arrest, like you said, is not something we can plan for. It was a freak thing that happened. But were there any genetics or family history of heart issues that was the reason that you were even seeing a cardiologist?
I don't believe so. I don't believe nobody in my family's ever had a cardiac arrest.
Okay.
But the cardiologist was, a few years ago, I was tipped off by my internist or my internal medicine doctor who noticed I had a strange heartbeat. It kind of presents itself like a skipped heartbeat. And she told me to go see a cardiologist. And that was just because of my kind of semi-irregular heart rhythm, which it's not something I feel. So it's not something that bothered me. She was just very on it when she figured it out. So they just wanted to watch it. And it wasn't even that contributed to it. It was the low electrolytes, which drives the electrical impulse to the heart, and the enlarged heart, which had to work harder, evidently. And they thought that was from a virus. And who's going to know you have a virus in your heart? You know, that's just a freak incident.
That is a freak incident. And I can relate because when I had my heart attack, I had been in the hospital 3 weeks prior because of a severe case of Lyme disease. And I don't think that's why I had my heart attack, but I still believe the Lyme disease contributed to what was going on in my heart. But so it's interesting with you saying you had a possible virus in your heart. People don't really think about that. So when you reflect what happened to you, were there any symptoms prior? Was there anything you can think of and say, oh, that's why I was feeling this or that?
Really, no. Other than there's days sometimes that I may feel dizzy when I wake up, which I can attribute to many different things. Just
Mhm.
kind of that lightheadedness, but nothing that I didn't have before, or it's sporadic. And I had nothing that morning. It was 9 something in the morning when we were volunteering. We were actually handing out
Yeah.
pink out ribbons for breast cancer awareness month. And I felt nothing until I was standing on the sidewalk for several minutes talking to her. And then it just hit me. That's why it's called sudden cardiac arrest. I mean, it just,
It's
bam.
horrifying.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you were safe, and glad that the 2 girls were there and the coach knew what to do, and the CPR was done and the AED kits were there and they knew what to do. And that's one of the goals of our conversation today. So now I'm going to bring Linda into the conversation, and I want to talk about the CPR, the AED, because it's your passion, Linda, and it's the mission you have to raise this money and ensure these schools have these things available. And your passion is so evident to me in the short time I've known you. So I think that Julie's story eloquently demonstrates why we've got to get these kids into every school out there and generate this awareness. But first, we need to raise the money. So before we go into discussing your project, tell us what goes in, what's the whole shebang that goes in these kits, and what the cost is involved to get a full one in a school or an office anywhere.
I'm passionate about this because I run a women's empowerment organization called Leading Women Entrepreneurs. And this is the 2 of you are really great examples of how heart disease is the #1 killer of all women, above all cancers combined. So to Julie's story of, passing out the breast cancer awareness ribbons and her having a heart attack, that's very reflective of the statistics, right? Obviously preventative care for anything is so important, but for some reason, I think women tend not to do the preventative care around heart issues because they don't realize that it is the #1 killer. So as a person who has been supporting women for almost 2 decades in various ways, it's my privilege and honor to be on the executive leadership team for the American Heart Association, because I want to raise awareness for this huge challenge that we have. And I just commend both of you for being a part of raising awareness and telling your stories. Julie's story is in such alignment with my current 2021 project, which is trying to bring more CPR kits and life-saving skills into the communities. And that really starts with educating the next generation of leaders. So if we can teach younger kids in high school and in college how to perform CPR and know where the defibrillators are and how to act in a crisis and in a crisis situation so they can manage this and save a life, that is such an empowering thing. And I know after I took the CPR class as a mother of 3 young kids, I have a pool and there's always children over here. I know that I felt more empowered than I did prior to taking the class. So I'll just start there. If anybody's going to learn something from this, take a CPR class. It's never going to be wasted time and energy. You will learn something that could save a life.
Okay.
And for that reason, it's worth the time and investment.
Wow.
The CPR kits, our goal is to raise $50,000 and put 10 CPR kits in underserved communities. So we are looking for individuals or companies that want to be a sponsor at the $5,000 range. And we would pick a community that couldn't afford necessarily to put these CPR kits in their school system. And as a sponsor of that, you would get some significant PR opportunities. You would, we're living in a different time, so you would be able to at least virtually present this to the school. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, we'll be able to do more things live. But I think that if anybody's interested, they can reach out to me directly, and we can tell them a little bit more about the packages. That's the overall.
And I'll share that information when we post the video. So, Linda, I don't know if you this or not, but is there some in your family, is there a history with a heart attack or cardiac arrest that kind of led you
Again, I had a brother who passed away from heart complications. And, but again, this is an opportunity for me to just tell everyone how important men, women, children, how important it is to know the facts and know the preventative skills, and then know what to do in a crisis.
Perfect. I love it. So, Julie, I'm going to come back to you now.
Okay.
Since you have this cardiac arrest and you're the bionic woman now, you have this internal defib in your heart. Has your life changed at all? Did you have to change your lifestyle after all this happened? And how often do you go to see the cardiologist now for checkup?
Well, let's see. I'm still a mom to 2 kids and a wife, so my life is still the same. However, I definitely have been selectively turned into an activist for this because of my life circumstances. I go to the cardiologist, I think, every 3 to 6 months. It depends. I have a cardiologist, and then I have an arrhythmia management doctor who's the one who put my ICD in. And so I have a bedside unit that kind of tracks and downloads everything that's going on with my heart. So, so new age, isn't it? And so if there's anything wrong happening, he'll find out about it. So
and
I'd say go
if
ahead.
there's anything wrong, would you know? Would you feel anything if something's wrong?
I would hope so, but I didn't feel anything wrong that morning. And let me just clarify for Linda, because believe me, this is a clarification I needed as a person, and a lot of people do need. There is a distinct difference between a heart attack and a cardiac arrest.
Mm-hmm.
A heart attack normally is because of some kind of clog in the arteries, and it is a plumbing issue. So it can happen over time and clogged arteries. And normally when a heart attack happens, the victim is conscious. Now, with a sudden cardiac arrest, it is an electrical issue. So the electrical pulses to the heart backfire or start happening as they should. And it happens suddenly. There's no warning. And normally the victim is unconscious, which is what I was. So that's the difference between the two. And to answer your question, I'm sorry, restate it. So I want to make sure I said that point, because it's a definite important point. And that AED that Linda's wanting to get out in the schools, it will only shock you if you need it. So it will only shock the victim if they need it.
Oh, okay.
So it analyzes the heart rhythms, and it may decide, don't need it, or yes. And that's why it's easy to run. It turns it on, it analyzes, and then it will shock if needed. If it doesn't, that's not the problem.
Wow.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
That's such,
Linda,
again, I didn't know that
something?
either. I just wanted to thank Julie for clarifying. I think that's so important for everyone to know the difference, and what a great explanation that is.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I'm sure most people don't.
It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help you. If you need
Yeah.
it, it's going to shock.
Yeah.
If not, it's just going to be stuck to your chest.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. But I don't think I fully answered your question, Patty.
I'm sorry?
I don't think I fully answered your question.
Yeah.
Oh, how's my life changed? I think is what you said. Well, actually, we started a petition. My husband and I started a petition on change.org, and we have a mission to add AEDs as a searchable feature on smartphones. And our goal is to someday be able to just kind of pull out your phone and say, hey Siri, hey Google, or even Alexa, where's the closest AED? Because,
wow.
I mean, does anyone really know where the closest one is right now? I was very fortunate that the people who tended to me
knew everything.
I was at a school and they knew exactly where it was. It was athletes who had just been in the gym and they've seen the AED every day. But not everybody knows where the closest one is. And also those twins had just been trained on CPR in their health class. And the two adults that helped me were first responders for the school district. I was more than lucky of the people who tended to me. And so with our mission that to be able to hold up a phone and find out where the closest AED is, since most people may not know, we are now in discussions with one of those very companies to potentially make that happen. And that is so exciting.
That's really exciting. So
Yeah.
Maybe there's something more that you really can be doing together. That sounds like a place to go. Hey, Linda, I have a question for you if you can answer it. Is it a legal requirement for schools to have these in their schools and businesses, airports?
You know,
is it a legal requirement? Does it need to be?
I don't know if it's a legal requirement. I would suspect that, there should be some requirement, but again, with everything, it boils down to funding. And I think that even if it is a legal requirement and there is some device there, if no one knows how to use it, it's really about providing the education and making sure everybody is aware of A, they have it, and B, they know how to use it, and C, they are empowered enough to act during the middle of a crisis. Like, it sounds as if Julie's school that she was at had such amazing people there, right? So that's what we want to create in every school district.
Right. Well, I appreciate you leading that initiative, and I hope it is very successful and it's across the country and just everywhere because it's needed everywhere. So Julie, before we wrap up, do you have any words of wisdom that you share with women about advocacy or heart health, or do you feel like what happened to you is just such a freak issue that you haven't really delved into everything to do with the heart? Where are you at now?
I think it was a freak incident, but I don't live in fear that it's going to happen again, although it certainly could. And I'm part of a group, Facebook group that, we talk about some people have had several sudden cardiac arrests. And
wow.
Actually, we celebrate our rebirth day, which is the day that you're shocked back to life. And so that's kind of a thing in the sudden cardiac arrest world. I believe mine was personally just kind of a freak incident. And there is no warning, like I was telling you. But for women out there, just be in tune with your body. Make sure you're going to regular doctor appointments and eating and drinking well. And making sure you get all the vitamins you need. Yes, making sure you get all the vitamins you need.
Potassium. That's just
potassium. Potassium drives electrolytes, which is the electrical system of the heart.
Okay, so potassium. Women need to make sure they're getting enough potassium. In addition
Yep.
to all the other stuff we need to be sure we're
Oh
okay.
yeah, there's a long list for us.
There's a lot. It takes a lot of time to take care of ourselves and advocate, and
Right.
and we have to push. And you know, that's probably been one of the biggest things for me. And I'm transparent. 2 weeks ago, I wasn't feeling right. So you know, when you talk about the dizziness and in my heart, and I got on the phone and I started calling the doctors, push and push, and I was able to get in finally to see a doctor and get the test done and everything checked out well. But it's really scary, and I think that sudden cardiac arrest is just incredibly scary to me because, Julia, like you said, it's not something you can plan for. And I don't even know if a cardiologist could tell a patient, you need to be careful because you could have cardiac arrest. Has that ever happened, Julie? I mean,
I've been going to the cardiologist, and no, I'd had stress tests and all that kind of thing. And this was, again, I had been going to a cardiologist because of my premature ventricular circulation, which is kind of an irregular heartbeat that I never feel and never bothered me, and I could have had for life. But he, you know, I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, it has changed you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed you forever what you went through, and you just did a TED Talk weekend, which is fantastic, and you're just out there sharing information, and I'm excited to see the talk once it's
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here, and glad to be able to share the information. So hopefully it will help someone else.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So thank you for that. Hey, Linda, last thing, I know you said earlier, I'll get information up. So if we've got anyone watching the program wants to support the initiative, be a sponsor, give donations, and you all can give donations to my Women of Impact campaign as well, because all goes same pot at the end of the day, Broken Heart. And feel free to reach out to either Linda or Julie. I'll have their information up on the Glamorous at Heart website. And I hope that this was helpful today, opened your minds up about cardiac arrest and CPR and saving people's lives and something important that we need to do in the community. So, ladies, thank you so much for being here today. Do either of you have anything else you want to say before we say goodbye? No?
I wanted to give one more statement. So a sudden cardiac arrest can happen to any age. So it's important that Linda's working on this project to get it into schools. It can happen to school age kids. It's, it doesn't discriminate. And I'm actually on a committee for an organization here, and a woman lost her high school son on the football field due to cardiac arrest because they couldn't get to an AED fast enough. And so it's a very, very, very important project. Thank you for working on it.
Thank you so much, Julie. Yeah, and thank you so much for the platform.
Thank you, Beth, so much. Okay. All right. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.